This is Griffdog here, and welcome to Eldora Speedway, home of the 2016 Sprint Summer Showdown. This race will be as much, if not bigger, than the inaugural race. Eldora Speedway is located in the town of Rossburg, Ohio. Eldora plays host to some of the biggest dirt racing events in the country. Those include the Dirt Late Model Dream, the Kings Royal, the Truck Series, and tonight, the Summer Showdown. Eldora is a half-mile clay oval. The turns are banked at 24 degrees. The straights are banked at 8 degrees. Tony Stewart now owns the famed speedway, and racing began at Eldora in 1954, where the old racing charm remains today. In last year's Summer Showdown at Irwindale, we saw 70 cars competing for 30 positions. Some top names failed to make the show, including Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, and Matt Kenseth. That did not mean we had a boring show. We did not know who the winner was until the cars crossed the finish line. There, young 60-year-old Ken Schrader used the low side to his advantage to outnose Brian Scott, who now has a full-time ride in the Sprint Cup Series. Ken Schrader is back, but we'll talk more about him later in this episode. Last year, we had heats, C mains, a B main, and an A main. This year, the format has changed. There's a lot to cover in this year's format of the showdown. If you still have any questions after this video, please ask in the comments section below this video. Alright, let's get right to it. First of all, the field is bigger. 75 cars have entered this year's Summer Showdown. Each car will have equal time practicing on the track. Once practice concludes, each car has 2 laps to set a fast time. Once everyone records a time, each car will be sorted into 5 heats, each consisting of 15 cars. The fastest car will start first for Heat 1, second fastest car will be on the pole for Heat 2, and so on through Heat 5. The 6th fastest driver will start second in the first heat. The 7th fastest driver will start second in the second heat. That pattern will then continue through Heat 5. That is then how the heat races will line up. These heat races will consist of 15 laps. Caution laps do count. The point of the heat races is to prove that your hot lap is not a fluke. The goal is to finish as high as possible in these races. The starting lineup for all 75 of these cars are then readjusted. Officials will analyze where each of the cars start and finish. This is how the lineup is readjusted. Each winner will start 1st through 5th respectively. How those start between the first 5 depends on their time trial run. If 2 drivers, for example, win their heat races from the pole, the car with the faster time from qualifying is declared the pole sitter. The times will then be sorted through 5th. This will be done for all the second place finishers. Then this will be done for 3rd, 4th, and so on through 15th. This is done as a combination of pure speed and how well your car races in the heat races. This part will be explained more clearly at the end of this video, when the heat races are completed. Now here is the new part. We have a brand new main race feature tonight. It is called the Survivor Main. Not Spider-Man, the Survivor Main. This will start after the heat races. The thing to keep in mind here is win and you're in. Here's how this works. The top 20 cars from the readjusted lineup will enter the track for 20 laps. This is considered round 1 of the Survivor Main. Caution laps again do count in these races, so be watchful of how aggressive you are on the track. The winner of round 1 of the Survivor Main qualifies into the A Main. He or she is done racing and will wait until the other rounds are done. The remaining cars stay on track and compete in another 20 lap segment. This is round 2 of the Survivor Main, but here's the catch. If you finish 17th or worse in any round, you will then be kicked to the back of the line. You will have to wait until the other cars had an opportunity to race. What does this mean? After each round, 2nd through 16th will restart 1st through 15th, and 5 new cars are added to the mix to have a full 20 car field. This will happen every time after a round. Everyone that gets knocked out will have at least one chance of getting back in. There is one asterisk, though, to this madness. If a big wreck occurs and takes out more than 4 cars, a couple of things happen. First of all, the round is immediately over. The leader at the time is declared the winner and moves on to the A main. Second of all, every car that cannot continue will move to the back of the line. That means more than 5 cars can enter into the following Survivor main race. So, at minimum, 5 new cars will enter the main, but more could join. The next question is, why is this event called the Survivor main? We are doing this 30 times. If you keep finishing second, that's great, but you're still racing. The good news is, after each round, you have options to adjust your car and change tires without losing your precision. Consider the end of each round a checkpoint. The goal of this is to prove that the 30 best racers are ready to give it their all for the A main. The people starting out front have it a little easier because they proved themselves in both qualifying and their heat race. The Survivor main rounds will be split into 3 videos. I just want to make sure no one is confused about this format, and I know it's a bit complicated, but I will help as much as possible. Once 30 cars have qualified, there is a random draw for the starting lineup. That makes each Survivor main round equally important. Once that is set, the 30 cars will have 50 green flag laps to battle it out for the prize purse of over $1.5 million. So, long story short, you have to be perfect if you want to win this year's Summer Showdown. Before we jump into the action, let's cover some important topics coming into the 2nd annual Summer Showdown. As mentioned earlier, Ken Schrader returns to reclaim his crown as Summer Showdown champion. The difference between last year and this year? More support. Ken Schrader is lending a motor from Hendrick Motorsports this year. Watch out for Ken Schrader. He knows how to get it done, especially on dirt. This year, we have 4 Wallaces competing in this year's showdown. One Wallace has no affiliation with the other 3, but those 3 are all brothers. Each of them are coming back for this one race as something fun and exhilarating. Those Wallaces are Darrell Wallace Jr. and the brothers Mike, Kenny, and Rusty. Mike is driving for himself in the 82 Ford. Kenny is driving for Mario Goslin in the 90 car. Kenny is promoting his Dirt Race Reading Experience program. And finally, you heard it right, Rusty Wallace is back at Penske for a one-time deal. Can Rusty hold on to his charm and win this year's Summer Showdown? Speaking of returning, another famous driver has returned for a one-time deal. This one is a little controversial because people argue that this return is too soon. It is stated that he is only doing this one race, and that's it. This driver is Jeff Gordon. 4-time Cup champion, he is in the 92 car to commemorate his first year in the Cup Series. Jeff Gordon mentioned that all of his winnings will be donated to the Jeff Gordon Foundation. Jeff Gordon, a skilled dirt racer himself, is one to watch for this year. Remember last year how insane the age difference was? Well, the age difference this year takes the cake. The youngest driver in the field this year is Todd Gilliland, son of racer David Gilliland, who is also in this field today. Todd just turned 16 years old. NASCAR says you must be 16 or older to compete in this race. Todd just hit that mark. So now, who is the oldest driver in the field? Meet Red Farmer. Red is now in his upper 80s, and he's running this race just for fun. You gotta admit, 72 years is a rather wide age difference. The Sprint Cup drivers this year are not alone in this race. Several dirt specialists have entered this race, borrowing cars from either Hendrick, Stewart-Haas, Gibbs, or Roush. Some of these drivers include Steve Kinzer, Danny Lazowski, Joey Saldana, and Donnie Schatz. There are more drivers, and we'll get to them in the heat races. This is something definitely to watch for during tonight's activities. Here's the last story. Because pit stops are not going to be a factor, NASCAR has removed the cap for number of entries per team. Some bigger teams took advantage of this. There are 5 power teams to watch out for. Hendrick Motorsports this year has 9 cars. JR Motorsports combines with Hendrick this year to help get more cars onto the track. Besides the usual 4, Jeff Gordon, Cole Custer, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, and Bill Elliott have entered Hendrick/JRM cars this year. Stuart Haas Racing has 7 cars. Along with their 4, they added cars for Donnie Schatz, as well as Tim Fiedela and Rick Corelli. Tim, a former racer, spots for Kevin Harvick now, and Corelli, a former racer as well, spots for Kurt Busch. I would also like to note that Tony Stewart is driving a special throwback scheme for this race. Joe Gibbs will attempt domination with 8 cars also entered. Along with their usual 4, they also provide cars for William Byron, Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, and Daniel Suarez. Will this Toyota dominance continue on? Lastly, Roush and Penske provide 2 extra cars. Penske has cars for Rusty Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Roush has cars for Ryan Reed and Bubba Wallace. Alright, so now let's move on to some action. So here are some of the highlights from qualifying. Starting off, Ty Dillon, another favorite for tonight, who loses his car in turn 1. He will have to start farther in the back in his heat race. Meeting Ty is David Gilliland. Could not get his motor running and will have to start farther in the back. Starting 5th is Front Row Joe. Joe Nemechek provides 2 cars from his shop tonight, 1 for himself and then 1 for his son John. Joe pulls a strong lap and could be a favorite tonight. Starting 4th is Kurt Busch. Kurt's performance will sit him on the pole for heat number 4 tonight. Starting 3rd is Xfinity Series Slayer Kyle Busch. Kyle ran the Prelude to the Dream here at Eldora a few years ago, winning it, so he has some experience on this track. Starting 2nd is lots of times champion Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy also has experience in the Prelude to the Dream, including a win. He will start on the pole for Heat 2 and will be a tough cookie tonight. And starting on the pole tonight is Golden Boy Jeff Gordon. With an impressive lap of 14.7 seconds, puts him on top of the speed chart. Jeff Gordon also has experience in the Prelude to the Dream. It will be interesting if experience pays off for all these drivers. After qualifying is complete, here is the entire lineup for setting the heat races up. So for heat race number 1, we have 15 cars competing at it for 15 laps. Caution laps do count. Here's the starting lineup for heat 1. Starting on the pole is Jeff Gordon in the 92 Axalta Chevrolet. Tyler Reddick will start alongside him in 2nd. Eric Jones will start in 3rd. Chris Buescher with a good qualifying run in 4th. Then it's Chase Elliott, Danica Patrick, the only female in this race, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Brad Keselowski, Eric Almirola, Steve Kinser, Ryan Blaney, Cruz Pedregon starts 12th, Clint Boyer, Landon Castle, and Norm Benning round out your first heat. Flagman has the green in the air, and we're underway for the first heat of the Summer Showdown. Side by side as Tyler Reddick and Jeff Gordon go through turn 1 and 2. Eric Jones with the inside Chris Buescher for 3rd and will clear him. The top 3 start to pull away as Chase Elliott looks underneath Chris Buescher for the 4th position. Jeff Gordon clears Tyler Reddick and he will take the lead. Jeff Gordon will lead the first 3 laps, and then Eric Jones has a power run through turn number 4 and he would eventually take the lead away from Jeff Gordon. Chase Elliott would be in the 4th position. But not for long, as Dale Earnhardt Jr. has a powerful car and he moves into the 4th place, passing by Chase Elliott. Chris Buescher, who we talked about having an impressive start, has fallen all the way back to the 14th position. The only driver behind him is his teammate for this race, Norm Benning. Another car that's struggling in this heat is Jeff Gordon. He did have a good time trial run, but his car during the heat race fell quite a ways back. Eric Almirola, as you see here, passed underneath Jeff Gordon for a spot. but there was no competition for Eric Jones. On the final lap, Eric Jones had more than a second lead over Dale Earnhardt Jr. in second spot, and he would take the win from the third starting position. As we look at the final results from Heat 1, Eric Jones, starting from the third position, was able to take the win. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was able to gain quite a few spots to take second. Tyler Reddick falls back a spot to third. Eric Almirola gained a bunch of spots and went up to fourth. Jeff Gordon was able to stay in the top 5. Mark Keselowski finished 6th. Dave Blaney, Chase Elliott, Clint Bowyer, and Danica Patrick were able to round out the top 10. Following the first heat race is the second heat race. Here's the starting lineup for the second heat race. Jimmy Johnson starts on pole. Alongside him, Rico Abreu, professional dirt racer, starts second. Carl Edwards in the Subway car will start third, and John Hunter Nemechek will start fourth. Joey Saldana is going to start fifth, and Ryan Newman will be in sixth. Then it's Daniel Suarez, Dave Blaney, who has come back and is racing a second car for Tommy Baldwin Racing, Cole Custer. Then it's Stenhouse, Kenseth, David Reagan, and Regan Smith, and then in the back, Justin Allgaier and Ty Dillon, as we mentioned earlier, had the problems in the time trials. Pace car pulls in for the second heat, and Jimmy Johnson leads them to the flag, and we're racing for heat number 2 of the Summer Showdown. Just like the first heat, Jimmy Johnson and Rico Abreu battle side by side through turn number 3. Carl Edwards tries to clear John Hunter Nemechek, and he looks like he will. Johnson will lead the first lap. Rico Abreu stays to the outside, but it looks like Johnson should have the preferable spot. Daniel Suarez looks underneath John Hunter Nemechek to get inside the top 5. 3 wide for second as Joey Saldana moves underneath Carl Edwards and Rico Abreu. Saldana has a powerful car. Joey passes by Jimmy Johnson for the lead. But soon after, on lap 5, Carl Edwards passes by Joey Saldana for the lead. Jimmy Johnson follows suit in second. Can Johnson regain his composure and pass Carl Edwards for the win? We get our first caution of the night. Dave Blaney gets loose in turn number 4, and he smacks the outside wall and spins to the inside of the track. Fortunately, Dave Blaney is able to continue racing. Since this caution came out on lap 12, they were not able to get another green flag in, and Carl Edwards would end up winning heat number 2 under caution. Here are the final results for heat number 2. Carl Edwards wins the race. Rico Abreu, who did not lead a lap at all, but was able to finish in second. Joey Saldana, who led 2 laps, was able to finish in third. Daniel Suarez was able to gain a spot and move up to 4th. John Hunter Nemechek moves into 5th. Matt Kenseth finished 6th. Jimmy Johnson fell quite a few spots to 7th. Cole Custer finishes 8th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes 9th. Then it's Ryan Newman in 10th. Ty Dillon, he was able to come back a little bit, but was not able to gain the spots he needs. Finishes 11th. And then to round out the field, it's Regan Smith, David Reagan, Justin Allgaier, and Dave Blaney. Jumping now to heat number 3. Starting on the pole is Kyle Busch in the 18 Milk Chocolate M&M's Toyota Camry. To the outside of him is Martin Truex Jr. in the 78. Kevin Harvick will start 3rd, and Harvick's teammate for tonight, Tim Fedewa, will start 4th. Matt DiBenedetto, with an impressive time trial run, starts 5th. Cole Witt will start 6th. Todd Gilliland, the youngest driver in the field, will start 7th. Rick Corelli, Brian Scott, who finished runner-up in last year's A-Main in the Summer Showdown. Trevor Bayne will start 10th. Tony Stewart in the throwback scheme will start 11th. Kenny Wallace, Casey Mears will start where his car number is, 13th. Brendan Gaughan will start 14th. And David Gilliland, Todd's father, will start in 15th. Pace car comes in, flagman has the green in the air, and we're underway for the 3rd heat race of the Summer Showdown. Just like the first 2, the leaders start off side by side as Kyle Busch and Martin Truex battle it out for the lead. Kevin Harvick follows suit in 3rd. So far, the pole sitter has not won a heat race yet. Can Kyle Busch change that tonight? DiBenedetto runs in 4th. One car early has made an incredible charge up through the field is Casey Mears in the 13. He moves into the top 5 as we have 4 wide down the front straightaway, as that's Todd Gilliland, Cole Witt, Tony Stewart, and Kenny Wallace with a diving move to the inside. Boy, the fact that they are able to keep those cars going straight is amazing. Trevor Bayne follows suit underneath Kenny Wallace, picking up 3 drivers at once. And battle for the lead. Kyle Busch goes way up high, Martin Truex passes underneath, and Kevin Harvick passes underneath Kyle Busch as well. Kevin Harvick now goes after Martin Truex for the lead. On board with Harvick as we see Harvick passing by Martin Truex Jr. for the lead. This pass is very crucial for where he'll start for the Survivor Main, but Harvick's lead was short-lived. Martin Truex, very close to tapping Kevin Harvick, moves by to the inside of Harvick in a crossover move, and Martin Truex will reclaim the lead back away from Kevin Harvick. The second caution of tonight came out as Tony Stewart accidentally gets into his teammate Tim Fedewa. Fedewa fortunately does not hit anybody, but gets a little bit into the wall, but Fedewa keeps going. Just like the last heat though, since this caution came out so late, the cars were not able to get re-going, and because of that, Martin Truex is able to claim the win in the third heat race. Kevin Harvick, who started third, will finish second. Kyle Busch, who was on pole, will only finish third. Casey Mears started 13th, made his way all the way up to 4th. That is going to make life real easy for Casey Mears come to Survivor Main. Trevor Bayne will finish 5th, he started 10th. Matt DiBenedetto, Kenny Wallace, Rick Corelli, Brian Scott, and Cole Witt finishes 10th. Moving on to heat number 4. Starting on the pole for this heat, Kurt Busch in the 41 Monster Energy Chevrolet, and Danny Lazowski, World of Outlaws veteran, starts second. Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott's father, will start third, and Casey Kane will start alongside him 4th. Austin Dillon starts 5th, Ryan Reed, William Byron, and Greg Biffle starts 8th. AJ Allmendinger, Joey Logano, Ken Schrader, Bobby Labonte, Mike Wallace, Donnie Schatz, and rounding out the field for heat number 4 is Josh Wise in the 30 car. Here we go, green flag is out. Kurt Busch and Danny Lazowski brings the field down to turn number 1. Side by side again as Bill Elliott was able to get a good run off of turn number 2, clearing Casey Kane for the 3rd position. Austin Dillon's going to follow suit and try to pass Casey Kane for the 4th spot. Meanwhile, it is Kurt Busch in the lead, and we have a problem. Caution in turn number 4, that is William Byron, Ryan Reed, and AJ Allmendinger in turn number 1, but fortunately no one has any severe damage, so they all keep going. So the flagman comes in, green comes out again, Daniel Lazowski's in the lead, and then second is Bill Elliott, followed by Kurt Busch, Austin Dillon, and Casey Kane now, your top 5. Lazowski moves high up the track, and Kurt Busch has a strong chance of taking the lead back. Ken Schrader moves all the way up to the 4th position. Kurt Busch tries to do everything he can to get by Lazowski, but Lazowski is going to be a tough cookie tonight. Ken Schrader is all over the back of Casey Kane, and that is for the 3rd position. Bill Elliott and Greg Biffle follow suit in 5th and 6th position. On the last lap, Danny Lazowski pulls away as we have a frantic finish as Danny Lazowski will come off of turn number 4 and he will win it here at Eldora. And we have problems behind. That is Greg Biffle and that's Ken Schrader involved. Ken Schrader gets involved, Greg Biffle spins, Austin Dillon I think gets heavy damage. And this is definitely going to mess up the final finishing order. So here are the results as they came to the finish. Daniel Lazowski led all but 1 lap, and Daniel Lazowski will start in the top 5. Kurt Busch, who started on pole, finished 2nd. Casey Kane finished 3rd. Greg Biffle finished 4th. And how about Bobby Labonte finishing 5th? Austin Dillon, even though the front of his car is totally damaged, finished 6th. Bill Elliott finished 7th. William Byron, after his crash, finished 8th. Joey Logano finished 9th. And Ken Schrader was only able to salvage a 10th place finish. Ryan Reed finished 11th, Donnie Schatz finished 12th, AJ Allmendinger finished 13th, and then Josh Wise, and then finally Mike Wallace round out the field. 4 down, 1 to go. One more heat to set up the final qualifying order for the Survivor Main. Starting on pole is Joe Nemechek in the 87 car. Front row Joe is back again. Kyle Larson starts 2nd. Elliott Sadler is 3rd. Rusty Wallace, Paul Menard is 5th. Darrell Wallace Jr., Christopher Bell, Jamie McMurray starts 8th. Jeffrey Earnhardt, Denny Hamlin, Tony Kanaan, Michael Annett, Michael McDowell, Red Farmer, the oldest driver in the field, and Michael Waltrip starts 15th. The last heat to set up the qualifying order. Who will win this one? Here we go, green flag is in the air. Joe Nemechek and Kyle Larson take him down to turn number 1. Joe Nemechek this time gets a strong run down the inside and looks like we'll clear Kyle Larson through turn number 3. Paul Menard passes by. Elliott Sadler for the 3rd position. Christopher Bell from 7th already gets inside the top 5. A couple of laps later, it turns into a big battle as Joe Nemechek and Christopher Bell, who started from 7th position, dives underneath Joe Nemechek and takes the lead, as 5 cars have a chance of winning this heat. Kyle Larson looks all the way down to the inside of Christopher Bell a few laps later, and Kyle Larson was able to get by Christopher Bell. They go side by side through the corner. Bell has a strong car, but Kyle Larson was able to get the run off the corner, and Kyle Larson was able to lead that lap. Paul Menard follows suit as those 3 go at it for the lead. Eventually, Paul Menard does get around Kyle Larson for the lead in this race. Paul Menard, who has only 1 win in the Sprint Cup Series, could he possibly pull it off? Christopher Bell pulls by Kyle Larson for 2nd place. And the battle for the lead gets really heavy as Christopher Bell looks underneath Paul Menard for the lead. And with a strong run, Christopher Bell does pass by Paul Menard. Paul Menard is right behind Christopher Bell, and Paul is trying to do everything he can so that he will have a better shot at the Survivor Main to get into the A Main. 1 lap to go. Does Paul Menard have anything for Christopher Bell? Paul needs to dive into the corner with all he's got. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. He's going to follow Christopher Bell through, and Christopher Bell is going to win the final heat race here at Eldora. So here are the final results here for the 5th heat race. Christopher Bell wins it, and he started from 7th position. Paul Menard, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray finished 5th, Joe Nemechek, Tony Kanaan finished 7th, Darrell Wallace Jr., Rusty Wallace fell back a few spots to 9th, Michael McDowell, Elliott Sadler, Michael Annette finished 12th, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Red Farmer finished where he started, 14th. Michael Waltrip wound up finishing 15th. So I've already done the calculation, and we already have the lineup set for the Survivor Main. The top 10 goes like this. Martin Truex is going to start on pole, and alongside him is Danny Lazowski in the O2. Eric Jones will start 3rd, Carl Edwards will start 4th, and Christopher Bell, because he had the worst starting spot of all the other winners, will start 5th. Kurt Busch, Rico Abreu, Kevin Harvick, Paul Menard, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. will wrap up the top 10. As you see the rest, I have all of the proof in front of you, so that if you want to just see that I did the math correctly, you guys are more than welcome to do so. But hopefully you guys can trust me enough so that you don't have to prove me wrong. So that is going to do it for the first part of the Summer Showdown special. This is going to be a 5-part series. The next 3 parts then is going to be all about the Survivor Main, because each race is 20 laps, as I mentioned before. And again, if you are still confused, I'm going to try my best to be as detailed as possible on what is going on. So that will be part 2, 3, and 4. And then finally, part 5, I am going to challenge myself, and I'm going to have the entire race in full, all 50 laps, in one part. It'll be long, it'll be challenging, but it'll be good. So my goal with this series is I'm going to try to post a video once a week. It might be a little more depending on how much time I have to put this all together, but that's going to be the plan. So thank you guys for all the support as always, and thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.